So enter Judge Ellis, a take-no-prisoner judge who has seen it all. He tells Rosenstein's henchmen, do you even have the power to indict Manafort? Aren't you overstepping your authority to investigate Russia collusion during the 2016 presidential election? And in their inimitable way, the arrogant, almighty Mueller team responds in an open courtroom to a federal judge. We have additional powers. We cannot disclose them in this courtroom because of an ongoing investigation and because it will affect national security. So why is this important? If you ever doubted that the mission of Special Counsel Robert Mueller in the Russia investigation is to secure the scalp of a sitting president, then listen up. For the first time, real evidence, not of Russia collusion, but of the Mueller team's all-out war on our president, was played out in a federal courthouse in Virginia. The judge, United States District Court Judge TS Ellis III, took no prisoners in addressing the motivation and the intent, as well as the underlying authority of the so-called special counsel. Judge Ellis, a well-respected jurist, has handled some of the highest-profile national security cases in this country. His politics have never been questioned. He was born in Bogota, Colombia, served in the United States Navy, and graduated both Princeton and Harvard. The colloquy between this respected judge and prosecutor Andrew Weissman, whose ethics and integrity have been repeatedly attacked by federal courts for years, was astonishing, even to a veteran of the courtroom like myself. You'll recall that Manafort stands accused by Team Mueller in two separate indictments of money laundering, bank fraud, and lobbying crimes when he worked for the Ukrainian, not Russian government. Judge Ellis, no friend of Manafort, threatened that Manafort was faced with the real possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison. He told Manafort that given his financial means as well as his international connections, that he posed a substantial flight risk from justice. But yesterday, as Manafort's team sought dismissal of Mueller's indictment based on lack of jurisdiction, the court did a 180, accusing the prosecutors of not only trying to take down the president, but of trying to wield unfettered power. Now, you may recall that it was in May of 2017 that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein signed an order appointing Mueller special counsel to investigate Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and related matters. Ironically, in the order, Mueller is authorized to conduct an investigation generated by Director of the FBI James Comey's House Intelligence Committee testimony. Isn't it curious that it was Rod Rosenstein who wrote the 2017 memo saying that Jim Comey should be fired, saying, quote, the FBI's reputation and credibility have suffered substantial damage affecting the entire Department of Justice. Rosenstein adding, he doesn't understand Comey's refusal to accept the nearly universal judgment that he made serious mistakes in the handling of the collusion and conclusion of Clinton's email investigation. That Comey was, according to Rosenstein, a textbook example of what prosecutors and agents are taught not to do. He adds that prosecutors from different eras and both political parties agree that Comey violated the rules and regulations as well as the traditions of the FBI, ending with his recommendation that, quote, the FBI is unlikely to regain public confidence and congressional trust unless Comey is gone. And yet, in the most blatant display of public corruption and personal cover your own butt, Rosenstein appoints both Comey and his friend Mueller to begin an investigation generated from the disrespected, tainted testimony of the same man that he wanted fired. But it gets worse. The so-called Russia collusion investigation is then secretly expanded by Rosenstein months later. So why is this important? Because Rosenstein is adding more authority than we knew he initially gave. So why does Rosenstein even have so much power? He has irrefutable power, more than the president himself, some would say, because he convinced a dithering, unsure, insecure, uncertain, spineless, timid attorney general just appointed by the president to back off and renege on his duty to run the Department of Justice. And lo and behold, Rosenstein, who has his own bias against Trump, having just a day earlier been rejected by Trump to run the FBI, his interest, though, is far beyond that job. His interest is to protect his handling of a case ultimately permitting Hillary Clinton to get approval to sell 20% of America's uranium to Russian interests. So enter Judge Ellis, a take-no-prisoner judge who has seen it all. He tells Rosenstein's henchmen, do you even have the power to indict Manafort? Aren't you overstepping your authority to investigate Russia collusion during the 2016 presidential election when you indict Manafort for actions 11 years prior to the election? What does 2005 have to do with the 2016 election or the 2017 firing of James Comey? And in their inimitable way, the arrogant, almighty Mueller team responds in an open courtroom to a federal judge. We have additional powers. We cannot disclose them in this courtroom because of an ongoing investigation and because it will affect national security. The judge suggests Mueller's people are lying about the investigation and seeking the unfettered power to unseat our president, simply using Manafort to sing against Donald Trump. Quote, come on, man, you don't care about Manafort. You really care what information Manafort can give you to lead to Mr. Trump and an impeachment. The Mueller team then refuses to show their authority. Judge Ellis demands to see the Rosenstein secret memo, unredacted, of course, the one that House Republicans have sought for months, saying that information from 2015 is not within the scope of that investigation. We don't want anyone with unfettered powers, said the judge, making fun of and paraphrasing the prosecutors. The court sums up the Mueller team argument, quote, we said this is what the investigation is about, but we're not bound by what we said, and we're lying anyway. By saying that their authority is not judicially enforceable, the Mueller team is basically telling a United States federal judge that their authority cannot be challenged through the courts. It's time to end the Mueller, Comey, Rosenstein cabal for once and for all.